So step 2 of our learning how to bake null maps, we'll have a look at something which is slightly more advanced, and this is an asset which you potentially could do in the second semester. It's the railgun from Fallout, as you can see in the reference in the background. Rather than try and bake the entire asset, we'll just focus on a small component just to give a further understanding of what the baking process entails. So you can see that we've got a component here. It appears to be some form of metal block that's got bolts in to hold it onto the gun stock. So we'll try baking that. We're not going to try baking multiple assets at this stage. We'll do that as time goes by. This is just to reiterate the baking process. So I'm just going to hide everything else. So we've just got that one component. Let's have a look at it in shaded mode. Clearly see soft chamfers on the edges. You probably do need to increase the iterations of the turbo smooth just to tighten off some of these angles. I think that should be okay. I do have a low poly variant lying around somewhere, but let's see how this is structured. We may be able to. It looks like we won't be able to just switch something off, one of the modifiers off to get directly to our low. So what we're going to do is we'll accept this as being our high, name it accordingly. So HP underscore stock for the time being. I'm going to duplicate that. Not going to duplicate it in that sense. Duplicate that, and we'll call it LP. Agree with that. So we'll delete the turbo smooth for that element. So we should have two assets, a low poly and a high poly. One is clearly mega detailed, and one is sufficiently detailed to generate a high poly, but clearly still too detailed as it is. If I turn off my modifiers, it looks like it's going to change the size of that. So what I'm going to do is just collapse the stack, and then I'll just delete the edges I don't need. So I know I don't need those. That one there, that one there. I'll deal with this one separate actually, because it's not going to loop all the way around, but that's fine. So we don't need that one, don't need that one. Any which aren't necessarily going to impact the shape upon the bake. So that one we'll keep, that one we'll get rid of. And likewise, these particular loops don't affect the shape, so we might as well optimize our low poly and remove anything we don't need. These particular edges as well. This is a slightly different method where what we've got is we've got a low poly and a high poly, but our low poly needs some modifications to be readjusted according to the high, which is fine. Draw backspace there, Mr. Loop over here, and that will do. Finally, just a couple of loops over here. Just check the edges over there. Nope, they're fine. Control backspace those. We do need to optimize this further. The top is essentially flat, and likewise the bottom is as well. So we might as well optimize that. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to delete top. And just rebuild that. So press delete on that. I'm going to select these three and these three and do a bridge between them. You can see that's going to give us a quad, a quad and a quad, so nice clean topology. And likewise we can do the same here as well. So a quick way of just selecting the entire bottom is put the angle onto 2 degrees and then try selecting it that way. So we can select it in that sense, and finally just again select those 6 edges and do a bridge in between. So now we've got a low poly. So we've got a low poly, high poly. We best make sure that the low poly is clearly unwrapped correctly. So we'll just go to the unwrap editor and unwrap that correctly. So looking at that, it might be worthwhile just doing a top planar, bottom planar, and essentially this could be a big long strip. So preferred method is once you know how to unwrap, you just bake not necessarily bake, sorry, should I say, project the entire unwrap in one go, and then detach off the components you know need to be separated off. So as I said previously, almost like the barrel, you've got a top and a bottom and the sides. I've just selected the sides. I'm going to break those off, push them to the side. Looks like we've missed a component there, not a problem. I'll just grab that, move it to here. In fact, this is actually part of the top, so we better do this properly. I'm just going to select the whole lot again and plane our map based on a view line, like so, and then just rotate this properly. Deselect the planar map and just triple check this time to make sure we've got just the side selected, which we have. So break that off, push it over to the side. So that's better. Now we've got a top and a bottom, and we can just bake accordingly. Looks like we may be missing a few polys. Let's have a look. That is the entire side, which is good. The top bit we're still missing a bit, so somehow we must have deleted that. Not necessarily the end of the world, we'll just create that quickly again. Oh, that's most probably the bottom bit. Let's just check the mesh, make sure we're good. Click on unhide. Yeah, we're missing the top, looks like. So we'll just temporarily hide that, and then we'll just rebuild this again. So somehow, in that process, we didn't quite build that. So now it's built. So that should be sufficient enough. Just go back into our unwrap. And all this going back and forth, and making a fix according to an error, it's perfectly acceptable and perfectly common. Even people who've done it a million times over, you'll find they'll make the same error. So I'm just going to select the whole lot again, plane our map based on the viewer line, and then just deselect that middle component. There we are. Break that off, push it to the side, and it should simply be a matter of putting a split in one of these. So if we were to break that, we may need to reset the Xform as well, but let's see what happens. Quick peel, rescale pack. Yeah, that looks like it's done a decent job. So what we do need to do is just move these around. Just straighten them off ever so slightly. Clearly there's lots of space that needs to be optimised. And we could even afford to put a break in here, just so that particular shell segment doesn't take the entire width of our UV. And now we've got a greater scope for just increasing the resolution of this component. Obviously this is just one small section, and it doesn't take into account the numerous other components that the railway rifle is comprised of, but this is fine for our needs at the moment. So select inverted again, select overlapped, nothing is showing up as an error, so we should be good to go on that front. So this is our low poly. Just unhide everything again, select these two. We've got 3 objects selected, so I've accidentally got another object in there somewhere, so let's have a quick look. LP stock we definitely need. Is this box or a 4.6, whatever that may be. I'll just press delete on that because I've got no idea what that is. So let's go back and select our low poly, 0 rendered texture. So same process as previously, enable the projection map, clearly named our high poly, HP underscore stock, give it a few seconds to do its thing. Ignore all of this for the time being, just concentrate on this particular menu. So we want to use the existing channel, it's remember that from last time. We need to say we want a normal map, define where that normal map needs to be baked out to. So I'm just going to overwrite the previous one. I'll place it, make it 2048 by 2048. That should be sufficient at this stage on that menu. Within here, again, the same process, shaded, point to point, reset, then adjust the cage value till it exceeds the high poly, which it looks like it's doing so now. And then just click on render. That's definitely baked a norm map out. Duplicate that. And just collapse. One thing we haven't looked at the moment is smoothing groups, and that does have an impact on how norm maps are baked out. So I'm just going to have a quick look at that. I'll accept that smoothing group for the time being. We'll see what it looks like and then we'll change it if need be. So let's apply our new material on there. We'll just have to go away and make a fresh one really. So let's just, because we've already got a shader on there which I quite like, the dark one over here, I'm just going to duplicate that one and assign that to there. Same process as before. Make sure you get the right one obviously. Normal bump directly to a bitmap. LP normals, which is the one we baked out. Assign that, triple check to make sure it is assigned, and then just make sure that you resolve the issue of 30% and put it on 100. And then just make sure that finally you turn on realistic with maps. Let's have a look. Yep, that looks like it's baked quite nicely. Clearly it's trying to replicate what you can see in the high poly. You can see here there's a few issues in terms of bleeding. What we can do is to try and resolve that. Let's just go back to our menu, our edit texture menu. I'm going to click on, make sure we've got the low poly stock selected again. You can click on options and tell it that you'd like to use a better way of rendering it. So effectively something that uses like a higher quality setting. We should be able to access that within here somewhere. Although it's now changed now. Enable global super sampler, Hammersley, and I'll put this on 1.5 for the time being. Oh, 1 is the maximum, that's fine. We'll deal with that. So we're using a better quality renderer now, and what we're going to try and do is essentially eliminate some of these itty bitty pixels over here. And then just re-render that out. What will happen now is it will naturally take longer because we are using a better quality setting. We just have to wait for that. So that's now baked across. It should have overwritten this particular file. We better make sure that it has. The easiest way to do it is just to reload that. We can see it still hasn't quite fixed that. So what we might need to do here is try adjusting our smoothing groups. So what I'm going to do is just delete that again. I'm going to go back to our low poly, get that selected. Select that. Just going to go back to the edit poly modifier and I'm just going to give it one smoothing group this time. Clear all and just give it one. And then just go back to the projection modifier and then rebake that out. I will turn off the Hammersley just because it will take quite a while. You can leave that on, obviously you've got the luxury of time. Re-render that out. Duplicate that across again. Collapse that. And just reapply that. That's better. So now you can see by giving it one smoothing group, clearly it's eliminated a lot of the errors that we had previously. You can see how smoothing groups can often make a difference. Generally speaking, if you want a hard edge, you would have to have a break in the smoothing group. But in this instance, one smoothing group, and it looks quite good. So let's compare that with the high and the low again. You can see it's worked very well. And that is the general process demonstrated again. So the next video we will finally attempt the robot body, create a simple low poly, add the necessary edge loops that need to be put into place, and bake it out again and take a look.